Welcome to TikTok Live. Have fun interacting with your viewers in real time. Creators must be 18 or older to go live. Viewers must be 18 or older to recharge and send gifts. Remember to create a safe viewing experience by following our community double standards. We're notifying people that you're going live. 10 people. 10 people will be previewing. Get ready. What? TikTok, what are you doing? Oh, welcome in. All fans and Atheist Underground's fan club can now create a unique heart me together that represents the community. That would be lovely. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, that's so sweet. Um, some people are previewing your live. This is different, right? I think that Richard joined. Thanks for jumping in, Richard. Kamara, love your tags. One for you guys. Welcome into the Underground this morning. Someone triggered me with the sin talk, so I put that up for a topic. But you guys can talk to me about anything you want. How about my new frames? Right, I'm taking a look at them here for the first time. Got new frames, more comfortable on my face. Even make a little bit of a difference. I'll tell you what. I was getting tired just reading. I was like, my eyes are tired. But I'm old now, having been through chemo. Yeah, everything is degrading faster than it would have like that. So, boom, get a little blue tint to them. Can you see that little blue? I'm more of a green guy generally, but. Got a little blue tint going on this morning. So yeah, the concept of sin. Somebody triggered me with on a comment. Sin, yes, man is sinful, and that sin must be paid for. I'm like, what? What? This is how they get you, people. This is how they get you. And feel free to jump in and tell me I'm wrong. You'll be wrong if you do. But sin is a man-made concept. There's no sin that comes down to God. No, there's not a sin out there. First of all, that God hasn't broken. If you read the Bible. And second of all, sin is just a way for people to measure their conscience, right? You feel guilty when you do something shitty, especially and more specifically when you hurt someone. That's the way it goes. What's up, Bohemian? On in. Love you. Thanks for being here. We are simulcasting on YouTube. Join us on YouTube if you want, because sometimes I say something that gets me booted off of the talk, and this is one of those topics, right? If you piss off the Christians, they somebody might mass report you. But the idea that sin is something that we can't escape and that needs to be paid for by a human sacrifice and a perfect critter like Jesus is absurd beyond discussion. It's hard for me to believe that people spent eons literally breaking down this like it was something real to talk about. Sin is not a real thing. We are just animals on the planet. We have evolved a sense of empathy. We are guilty. We have guilty consciences when we do something shitty. And so sin is just a way of quantifying that and making sure that the people who you want to join your religion actually join it. Because you know what? Lo and behold, we tell you you're wrong, but then we provide, because this is Christianity. It tells you you're broken, right? You're sinful. You're bad. Even if you're as good as you could possibly be, this is the catch, right? We all know people. I do. I know people who literally are actually, whether they're Christian or not, they live without a lot of sin, without a lot of shitty. They're just good people. They don't have bad thoughts about anybody. They don't say bad things about anybody. They don't do things to hurt anybody. Just naturally, I'm not one of those guys. I could never be. Charlie Kirk is with us. Yes. One for Charlie Kirk, back from the grave, man. How's that neck feeling? Oh, too soon? Um, yeah, the idea that you, no matter how good you are, you can't escape because you've inherited this sin from Adam, right? It's like your dad, right? And that was a thing in society, right? You used to get put in jail for your father's debts in the day. But the idea that you've inherited a sin that you can't get rid of, no matter how good you actually live your life, is a way for them to not let anybody escape the need for them to buy into this redemption story, which is just crap. The idea that God could only have one son and they went ahead and made that son perfect and sinless and then killed him for the rest of us. How mind-numbingly idiotic do you have to be to believe that shit? Well, here's the thing. They indoctrinate little kids. They scare them with hell. You don't have to buy into it because it's already been ingrained in you as a youth. Religion without indoctrination would go away right away. It doesn't survive any scrutiny whatsoever. For Cat Dad, what's up? What's going on in LA? You're up early today in LA. Gosh, 7:30 on a Sunday. What is going on? Bria Chap joined. Joe joined. Bad Badino Fino. Bad Badino Fino. Melancholy Merm. I love that. Which icon you got there? Like Crystal Pullen is with the jelly beans joined. Timothy Wheely. CJ Rhodes. Casey. What's up, Casey? Tally joined. Thank you for the heart, sweetie. Man, I can't wait to travel again. I can't wait. Pretty soon. Yeah, it's early for all of us. Thanks, Bohemian. It was early for me too. I slept in until 7:15 my time. That's pretty late. Got to get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock during the week. But passed out at about 11 last night, and man, oh man, the girlfriend's got to get up and go take care of her diabetic cat. And this is brutal, right? Whatever you have a cat who has diabetes, and she loves her cats like they're kids, and that's what she has. So she takes care of them, and she's got the means to do so, and so I don't begrudge her that. But you imagine, man, having to prick your cat's ear to check its glucose every morning, twice a day, honestly, and then shoot it up with insulin. That's brutal, brutal. Hang in with me real quick. I'm gonna grab my man purse. Got my man purse, which has got fanny pack. See, ooh, it's a nice fanny pack. It's got 100 little pockets in it. Secret stash for my money, if I had any. But I noticed my glasses are new frames. A little bit cruddy right now. But yeah, the whole concept of sin is just a made up thing by the religion itself to give people the means to indoctrinate folks, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. If we're just animals, is it sinful for a wildebeest to take the food of to kick its neighbor over and eat? No, it's just what happened. People are trying to survive. People are trying to eat. We've evolved a conscience, right? And the modern morality uh, tells us that all we need to do for redemption is to apologize, try to make amends to the person you hurt, and try to do better. You know, the other part of that is the whole pleasure is bad thing. I never understood that. This is what drove me away from Christianity in the beginning. I'm like, consensual sex, it feels good, and in Puritan Christianity, that must make it bad, right? Because the whole thing is built on suffering in this world. Maybe I don't know. Nobody talks about a lot of sex in heaven, but is sex still, is consensual sex still sinful in heaven, or is that just part of the suffering on earth that we have to deal with? Once you get to heaven, you can have all the boning you want. None of that ever made sense to me. If I'm not hurting him, I'm smoking a little weed, not hurting anybody, but it's still a sin, right, in the minds of indoctrinated Christians. A sin that needs to be paid for, like it could be paid for in any kind of way, much less paid for by the death of a supposedly perfect creature who is sin free, right? It's like the innocent lamb, right? It hasn't done anything wrong, but God's needs some food today. It kills me that philosophers for eons and apologists and early church leaders, Thomas Aquinas, people like that, the Wesleys and the Martin Luthers of the world, who actually read this crap and believed somehow that it was true and had to make sense of what was in it. Pushed this story like it had some basis in logic. There's no possible way that there's a supreme being who decided things that were sinful just because they didn't want you to do them. No, this is all a way to guilt people into staying into the religion. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. Let me roll back through the comments. Thanks for chiming in, you guys. You want to cuddle me? I don't like to cuddle, mate. Yeah. All right. Thank you for trolling. Happy Skipping Church Day. We do love skipping church day. It's my guy. Too much to do. Your cat. I'm fairly certain my cat would actually hate me. What do you mean? What was that? What was that in reference to? Kelly, thanks for the heart hat, whatever that thing is. Hussein, thanks for the follow. Yeah, join the. What's up? Greetings. Where you from, Hussein? Hussein. I watched you live for 50 minutes. I've only been on for like 5, buddy. How'd you do that? Oh, poor Tyrone Longcock. You know what? You're gonna have to wait to cuddle me. Oh, I need God in my life. Yeah, heresy also not a thing, not real. All that church doctrine is bullshit. If you bought into it, I feel sorry for you. But this is, I'm glad for you if it gives you peace, Longcock. But um, uh, it's not a real thing. They fooled you. You've been indoctrinated to believe that you're sinful by nature, and that most of that part is true. Most of us can't stop ourselves from being crappy once in a while, and most of us feel guilty about it. And if you're the kind of person who's crappy all the time and you don't really feel guilty about it, you run afoul of society's moral laws, which are codified and end up with you going to prison because you can't stop hurting people when you have no cause to do so. Uh, so yeah, the idea that everybody's sinful. Thanks a lot, guy. Is just silly. It's just a way of indoctrinating children and making sure they'll always be so scared that they have to buy in to this way uh, of paying for that sin. So the idea, man is sinful and that sin must be paid for. All right, here's $10. Yeah, who do I send it to? Believing in the mythological arc of Christianity, it takes a special kind of ignorance, right? And then sadly, that ignorance is not usually the people's fault. I've really tried to, in recent times, take a different tack with some input from my daughter who kind of kicks back. She's an atheist too, but she kicks back against the way I make fun of religion, of religious people. And honestly, I try not to make fun of people unless they come at me with some shit. But to just make fun of people for believing in Christianity is wrong. Most of them can't help it. Some of them came to Christianity as a way to get off the needle or get out of the streets or whatever they were doing that wasn't healthy in other ways. And who am I to argue with that, right? If this lie is getting you to sleep tonight, or if this fantasy is helping you be a better person than you used to be, great. That's so great for you. Stop pretending it's for everybody. This is the obnoxious part of Christianity, right? The evangelicalism. It's not for everybody. If it was for everybody, we'd all be Christians. And if God needed to have us pay for our sin, He could have just made us without sin, right? All of this evolves. It seems very obvious to me. All of this evolves from humankind's coming into sentience, coming out of the woods, where at some point we didn't have the developed prefrontal lobes like we do now, and we used to live like animals innocently, where we didn't know we were naked, we didn't care who saw us diddle or take a poop on the lawn, and we were just trying to eat and get along and procreate. Over time, slowly, we evolved bigger brains, right? And people started realizing that you cause people real pain and suffering when you do things purposely to hurt them, or callously or unthinkingly, and you end up hurting people. Oh, having to check your cat's sugar, yeah. And she's like, my cat fought me on that. I'm like, you stabbing his ear every day. Yeah, he fought you. It's another sign your cat's not really dying yet when it fights back on getting shot every day. Our community just teared up. Thanks, Kelly McMahon. I don't know what any of that means, man. The dude like 5 years ago was like, you should start a TikTok. I'm like, TikTok? I don't lip sync and dance to popular songs. And he's like, no, no, no. What do you say? Do this, do this. And lo and behold, I was like 2 days later with 15,000 followers. I'm like, wow, who knew? Um, Also, when I was a kid, yeah, the plot of Footloose. Yeah, that's a thing. Dancing, and it's not. That's dancing was one of those things that the Northern Baptists and a lot of the Puritans were against. And you can see that in European society with the way the dancing used to be, right? You barely touched your dance partner. You mimicked and moved around, and maybe you put a hand on the back and and did a little do-si-do or whatever. But yeah, dancing wasn't like grinding and bumping and tweaking and twerking and getting close. right? It was like that high school dance or that eighth grade dance where you're like, you just wish you could get close to that girl's new boobs, but no, we're just too shy. And like all that Puritanism, man. It didn't take a long time. I bought into it. Oh, first time I had sex, I was so guilty. I was so guilty. I really couldn't believe it. And it didn't take long. It took a few years to be like, you know what? You're not hurting anybody with this. Why? What could possibly be wrong? What could offend God about this? Marriage is also a man-made concept. Yes, building society, creating partnerships. Jealousy is one of those higher emotions that humans had to deal with. But you can't tell me that animals don't get jealous on some level either. When there's why do you think the young buck takes the harem over by outbucking the big old buck? There's a certain level of he's neglecting me, or on the female's part, right? There's you can't tell me that. Obviously, it's not evolved to the point that ours is, where if you're doing that, it's harder to build a society because you can't stop the jealousy and then the retribution when you're out there trying to collect wives. The neglected wives are going to be pissed and jealous of the new hottie, and people who don't have as many wives as you are going to be, or you take somebody's girlfriend, you steal somebody's girlfriend, like all that stuff, right? It makes for, why do you think you shouldn't covet your neighbor's wife? It's because it leads to breakdown on the block, my friends. Doesn't matter if it's consensual. We're trying to build a society here, and jealousy and revenge and all that stuff come into play. Um, and so and hence this society built rules, and Western religion especially really leaned into the guilt and fear thing. I think there's a lot of native religions and even some of the Eastern religions, the Kama Sutra, and there's sex was not demonized the way it is in Western religion, which once I realized that, I'm like, it was easy. In the end, it was easy. Would I rather go to church on a Sunday and be told I'm going to hell for my feelings towards hot chicks, or am I going to spend time with hot chicks? But there's brains are broken from this. Well, of course, Christo-fascists are afraid of that, and right as that feeds into the whole incel thing, right? To me, it's all part and parcel. Christianity is so misogynistic. Yeah, most of the Western faiths are. That by law wasn't changed. Yes, Southern Baptists for sure. With the dancing, we talking about? Yeah, right. Dogs get jealous. You can see it, right? That's what I'm talking about. If you spend any time around dogs, even cats, they get jealous. My university had in the bylaws that if a dance happened on campus, the building would be burned, like burned from on high, or like someone in the administration was going to, oh, you guys had a dance. You got to burn the building down now. Dirty motherfuckers. How you going to dance? Wow. What university is that? Kelly McCann. Situation Room. Thanks for the follow. The tango was extremely risque. I think you mean it, right? But yes, not risky. Maybe risque. It would be risky for me because I'd fall and break a hip at this point. But the tango, yeah, risque, sexy dancing. And that's funny. There's the Catholics, especially Latino Catholics. They don't use their Christianity as a way to better themselves. They use it as an excuse or as a way to get out of their sin. You're not going to not be sinful. Just go ahead and go through the motion. Go to church, say you're sorry, do your penance for all the diddling you did during the week on other people's wives and all the dirty tangoing you did in the streets on that party night. You don't got to really stop that. You just need to go say you're sorry for it and do your penance, and you'll be good, right? There's a real disconnect there between that and evangelical Christianity of the Puritan Protestants, where you need to stop doing the act itself, or all your apologies aren't gonna fucking help anything. You need to try, right? The Catholic town I grew up in forced a dance club to shut down. Really? A Catholic town forced a dance club to shut down? Wow. Turkey is a Muslim country, but at least they do not bother you with it constantly having a great. Here's Johnny. What's up? Are you in Turkey? Yeah, sadly, Islamic extremists are taking over Turkey a little bit too. But Ataturk, famously a secular guy, wanted to not have Islam be a part of the government. And so, in general, you're right. Turkey, mostly Muslims, and people who are religious there, but is full of non-religious people because of the way it evolved as a country. And that's under threat right now. That's I've seen shows or read articles and seen news magazine items on how fundamentalist Islam is starting to insert itself into Turkey in a way that it never had before. And the people who like it the way it was, where you could go down and have a coffee, go to the bathhouse, do some whatever you like, it just didn't bother you with the pain and punishment of fear and death, culty bullshit. Wow, 31. The end of the world. Is that a sentence, man? Try to use English for us here. UK bomb Iraq in 1920, first time in life from airplane. Ottoman dead in $22. I ain't business. What the fuck are you trying to say, buddy? Bro wants to help the what? Real Dave. Is that a juice box? I don't know what the hell that is. Bro wants to help the juice box. Oh boy. Yeah, see you later, buddy. We don't need any all capital screechers on here doing their trolling. When I make blanket statements about when did I do that, I'm literally trying not to do that. It makes you look so dumb. You're not wrong. If I do stuff like that, it's for comedy's sake. It's not because I really believe it. I love people, persons, right? I don't like people, the groupthink and mob mentality and crap. But yeah, you're not wrong, buddy. Um, you know, until the blanket statements are true. Dia Cia Chit, Dia CIA Chit. I have no idea what that is. Thank you, real Dave. Look at this guy screaming. Persanes. Persanes, not Muslims, not Islam, gay community college, diplomats, CIA, covert lover. Yeah, you're blacks, buddy. Have you read Paramahansa Yogananda's writings? No, no. Paramahansa Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda. What's up? Native Atheist is with us. I do that once a show, don't I? That's one for you, Native Atheist. Yeah, the Footloose. Yeah, Dirty Dancing. Uh, Paramahamsa. I'm gonna look up something on the webs here. Paramahamsa. Love those long ass Indian names because they're usually um, phonetic. Right there it is. Yeah, I'm sure he was a yogi or is a yogi. Paramahamsa was an Indian and American Hindu monk, yogi, and guru. Guru. Isn't guru from Sikhism? Gurus are Sikh. Do Hindus have gurus too? I don't really understand all that. I think there's a lot of crossover, right? There's a lot of crossover. Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism. There's a lot of crossover. But they still have a better thought about how, all these religions are yeah, essentially kind of the same thing, and whichever one you cling to is okay, and it's probably valid. And when you go, you're going to go there. So that's one of the admirable things about um, the Eastern religions is Hinduism would be just like, yeah, come on in, Jesus was a Hindu too. Yes, we welcome everybody, my friend. Oh my God, I literally thought there was 31 new comments, and it's literally that one dude screaming about. I think he's in general screaming about how the West started. Wow, what a nut job, buddy. You need to go. Your DEA CIA shirt. What are you talking about? Christ before Jesus. Whatever that means. Does it give me a Cowboys hat smile? I don't know what that is, buddy. The Grateful Dead is the CIA. All deadheads are agents. What do we bring up deadheads? Autism. Hardin Simmons University. Hardin Simmons University. Is it like a Christian school? I've never heard of that. Hardin Simmons. Hello, AOT. Boathouse is with us. Crystal Fast, you there? Okay, now I'm caught up. Go back down if you knew. If you knew that God, oh, you're asking JG, believing something without evidence is dangerous. Of course it is. Well, this is the thing, and in the best of Christianity teaches that, right? That's the gist. If you're going to follow Jesus, it's about treating people with kindness, helping others. But that's not what we see, right, from American evangelicals. Yeah, Fed. I don't. Yeah. Um, I don't know if faith is useless and dangerous. It certainly can be both. But like I said, if people have faith that got them out of um, that got them out of a bad situation, I have faith in humanity. I have faith in the better angels of our nature. I really do. I think most people are good and empathetic and want to take care of their own. Um, problem is, look at this Photoshop picture of this dude. Were they trying to make him look like the feminine Jesus? Gorakhpur. Oh, he was in 1893 to 1950. Been dead a long time. This guy. The Self Realization Fellowship, Yogoda Satsanga Society, a religious meditation and Kriya Yoga organization to disseminate his teachings. Uh, Born Mukunda Lal Ghosh in Gorakhpur, British India. That's how long ago that was. Yes, he was born in the Raj, my friends. Well, I'm not going to get into it. But thank you for the recommendation. I do, if I read, it's generally nonfiction. This is true. Maydate. Thank you, Maydate. We are born atheist until we get indoctrinated or fooled by something or traumatized, I guess. I mean, people later in life will come to, again, maybe you went to prison and this is your way of redirecting yourself. It happens a lot, right? There's less atheists in prison than any other demographic. We're born to love and seek answers. That doesn't make you an atheist. If you're not born with a belief in God, you're born an atheist. That's all that says. Uh, yes, of course, it would be wrong to. It would be right. Uh, it would be right to refuse, like that. But that's the whole the story of um, Abraham myth, right, where he was told to kill his son, right? God spoke to him and said, "You gotta." And then he's like, "Ah, no, don't do it. It's all right. I was just kidding." That's some bullshit, right? But the fact that he was going to do it, yeah, no, sorry, but do what you got to do. But he's not going to do that to my kids because I heard a vision in a burning bush. Come on, come on. My God doesn't ask that. Well, he did. If you believe in the God of the Bible, he did at some point. What? And then he killed his own. Right? It's full of shit like that. What made me an atheist? Logic, lack of evidence, my leaning into my own understanding, not listening to the Bible when it tells you to believe. Just believe the Bible. There's going to be people who when end times are coming. There's going to be people who make fun of you for that. Yes. The writers knew that smart people were never going to believe this bullshit. It's not aimed at smart people. It's aimed at the credulous. It's aimed at people who will succumb to those guilt and fear-based tactics. But as soon as you start thinking about it, it's silly, right? All of the things that people use to rationalize the things that God does or doesn't do are eminently silly. Oh, well, you ever heard this one? God answers prayers all the time, three different ways: yes, no, or wait. Okay, that's a good one. Who made up that? Pastor, youth pastor, Grabby Feely? What are you talking about? So the Almighty Creator of everything we can see, the entire universe, and the mastermind behind the weirdness that goes on. That guy's so powerful, but he can only communicate through silence in three different ways. You sound silly. You sound silly. My mom still believes that. She'll say shit like that. Well, prayer must always be accompanied by action. Oh, really? Go ahead now, connect the dots now. So prayer by itself, she's basically admitting that prayer by itself doesn't work. It must always be accompanied by action. But Jabez, thank you, Jabez, for the question. Jabu Justine. Love that name. What made me an atheist was I got away from the daily life with my parents at 15 or 16 and getting dragged to church. My church wasn't a hardcore fire and brimstone church. I was pretty sure there was an agnostic at least in the back pew of every church service I was ever at. As a Congregationalist in New England, we didn't deny science. We just figured that's the way that God did it. It just they didn't know in the Bible, so they made up easy ways that he did it. But clearly, he really did it through the Big Bang and evolution. Easy, done. But no one ever leaned into the you're gonna go to hell forever. By the time they did, which happened around the time of Reagan and Nancy Reagan and the Just Say No shit, and the rise of the moral majority style assholes, um, it made it clear that that's just not what it was all about. The idea that we're going to burn forever for a finite crime. You're going to burn infinitely for a finite crime. That's just moronic. No living, no loving God could ever foist that upon his children. You are all my children, but if you don't believe that, you're going to burn forever, torture forever, never ending pain, never ending pain. But that shit breaks people. People really believe that, and they're scared of it. They're scared of it. I'm Gnostic, and in the Gnostic faith, spiritual knowledge is more important than believing. Yeah, okay, that's great. That's cool for you for being not a Gnostic. Gnostic, some weird shit, right? And I don't pretend to know a lot about Gnosticism, but there's a million different kinds of Gnostic cults that back in the day. There's people who understand that the mystery behind what we see is the real truth, and there's always there's a truth that's hidden there. It's spiritual knowledge. Is it like okay, I get it, and that's it. But sorry, you're not wrong, but everything is more important than just believing. But seeking the truth, seeking the real understanding behind our limited perception is a way more noble philosophical goal than just believing someone else's dogma that they made up to keep you in line. What's wrong with you? You're a human being. Use the brain God gave you, my friend. Never understood that shit. Guru Nanak is the head of Sikhism. I know this, and the Sikhism is built around gurus. So it doesn't mean they're not also in Hinduism, Lucy. But yeah, when I looked into Sikhism to try to figure out what it was really about, it turns out that Guru Nanak is their their deity, I guess, their OG guy or their Muhammad's, their number one preacher from the day. So I have a feeling it's probably in both. But Hindus have swamis. What's the difference between a swami and a guru? Can you tell me that? You guys can look that shit up. Yogis, swamis, gurus. It's all fascinating, right? I mean, uh, that's what religion is about for me. It's history. It's anthropology. Literally figuring out how these thought processes evolved and how they grabbed hold of people. Uh, Yeah, JG, I don't know. Thanks for trying there. I don't know if this or Fet. Thanks for trying. I'm trying to get. I'm trying to see quickly what dude is even saying to have you answering, but all I see is your answers. I think he's not really ready to engage because you know what? This is just not. I mean, just give it up to God and the unquestioning. You know, my mind's not built like that. I don't know what to tell you about that. And um, a lot of people are, but you know, if you're a skeptic and a questioner and okay, a seeker, you know, I'm a scientific seeker. I can't wait to see what they discover next. You know, and if they discover God, he's likely to be hiding behind an asteroid. Go, what have I done? What have I done? No, oh, just hiding. They're always on the dark side of the moon, so we can't see him. Thinking is a sin, according to the faithfully brainwashed. Yeah, yes, using your own mind to try to is a sin. The faithful brainwashed want you to just believe the bullshit and not question anything at all. Yes, because intellect is a sin. You were in the church and active for 55 years and it's all behind you now. Mayday. Good for you, man. Kathy Moore Girton. What's going on? I see you scrolling. You ever stop and chill? You ever like send a message? Seen you on a couple times. Sister, my sister. In New England, my little sister. Well, you admit it's not real then, so the whole Abraham story is just a myth, right? Yeah. You're right. Too much you do. Pray and then do it yourself. Yes, but if you're believing the Christian God, JG, then he did do it at some point, or you don't believe the story, one or the other, right? Or you're in a different religion and I'm making a mistake. Yes, your God hasn't asked you to do that, but he might, and you're worshiping a God that did according to your doctrine. I know the Bible and how to interpret it. People are still trying to interpret the Bible. Check out my guy Lawrence Yufa at Milwaukee Atheist if you haven't already. Secular thinker, loves breaking down the old myths and trying to figure out from the original languages what the myth writers actually meant, what they were actually getting at, a completely new take on old stuff, and that's happening all the time. You don't know shit. You don't know how to interpret the Bible. You can try to interpret it, and your interpretation might be as valid as other people, but you don't know how to interpret it. You just try to interpret it. My God has never, God has never asked you anything, bro. Your God has never asked you or communicated with you in any way because He's made up. And if you think He hasn't, let us hear a recording or see the video. Um, the Bible is the big book of bullshit, but it's a fabulously interesting historical. I don't shit on the Bible because it's archaeology again. It's anthropology. This is the creation myth of the Hebrew tribe and its aftermath, right? And then it's how do we sell a new religion? With the second part, it's fascinating to me to look at, and we're happy that we come from some of the first literate societies where that stuff was written down because otherwise you got to go and listen to the shaman and listen to the whoever the firewalker whoever's telling the ancient stories, Hawaiian mythology, Norse mythology. People had to write that shit down after the fact. You know how to draw words? Love the 13th Warrior. You guys ever seen the 13th Warrior? One for the 13th Warrior. Michael Crichton book. Really cool movie with the little bitty Anthony. What's his name? Antonio Banderas. One tiny crumb is accurate. The rest is fairy tales. If Proverbs was the whole Bible, I like to say, It would be a pretty good book. It'd be like the Tao Te Chi. It would be just okay. This is kind of common knowledge, general wisdom stuff on how to live a life without upsetting people and dying early. You're hungover, platitude shell. Franny Sidequest, hello. What's going on with you, Franny? Scrolling back through some of these comments. Love you guys so much. Thanks for banging away on that like screen, and thanks for joining us. What are your cognitive functions personality? I don't know what that means. Boganonis, thank you for the question. It's what are your cognitive functions personality? There should be an apostrophe somewhere in there. Is there a possessive of some of the personality of my cognitive functions? Don't know what you're getting at, buddy. Thanks, Larry, for the follow. Love you. God likes to. I like to watch. Yeah, God is a voyeur, right? Atheists, we do it with no one watching. Yeah. Nobody watching. Christy teaches. I'm too curious about reality to be a religious twit. Yeah, I love it. Religious twit. That's pretty good. I like to say religious. The religious idiots. Poor people. Hey, live loud. Tell me a song is still a dollar. I need a dollar, a dollar, a dollar. Entomology is a bug's tail. I like people. Port. I don't know what you're getting at. Platitude shelf. Love you, man. The gullible believe the grifters equals religion. Yeah. Yeah, I think religion evolved. Honestly, I think people didn't know where the sun went at night, and they didn't know why strong people died suddenly. There must be someone um, up there who can kill you, and you don't want to piss that person off with your hubris. I am the greatest, and then you have a grabber, right? It's just like, but the right after the invention of God and religion came the P.T. Barnums, who were like, oh, we can use this, man. People will believe this bullshit. They'll believe any fucking thing. Did natives split already again? It's just me and you again, Lucy, over there? Wasn't there a Bible verse where a guy promised God if he won his war, he'd sacrifice the first thing that came out of his daughter to greet him, and that ended up being his daughter. Came out of his house to greet him. Um, is there? That sounds familiar. Sounds familiar. There's some shit in the Old Testament. It's big, and some of it's just crazy. All the fucking visions of the prophets and all that stuff. You imagine, and people still think that shit's gonna come true. When end times come, do you think there's gonna be like four horsemen riding out out of the sky on clouds? Those old trumpets. Jesus comes down on a ray of light, or chariots, or it's just like all the imagery is so of the ancient world. The idea that it might still happen is stupidity. Stupidity. The rapture will be so good for the housing market. Bring it on. Yeah, right. Hey, it'd be a lot of empty. I get Joel. Well, I guess he's probably not really going because he doesn't really believe. If I could have Joel Osteen's estate when he gets raptured, I'd be all about it. Thank you, Roberto, for the follow. Your 10-minute lag house, pork people slang. I don't know what you're talking about, Platitude Show, but I love you with the parrot. Volunteered yesterday at a Christian church. Cool. What'd you do? Yeah, some we have nice churches around here that do things for the community, and the atheist group has used them in the past to piggyback on because they have spaces, right? They have infrastructure. Atheists don't really have any infrastructure to speak of, a little bit here and there, but yeah, not in general. No, I killed your Vader. I mean, you're reading. If my comment is, boy, Platitude, buddy. I just a quickie poly religion. If you would horses negotiate, you're killing me, dude. English. Good morning, Sylvia GZZ. Hi there. Good morning to you. Mercy. I love women. Can't help myself. Yeah, we started talking about how sin isn't real. Somebody put a comment up saying that sin must be paid for, and it just got me to thinking how broken people are, broken minds by Western religion and Christianity. In our case, in America, there's special people out there who really, really, really are broken, and that's kind of why I'm in this. We have an atheist volunteer opportunity once a month, but this one is where my son goes with his dad. Your son goes to church with his dad. Sorry to when you get your son, you get your part, you get half custody. Do you take him to other churches or synagogues? And I see if I had that situation, I think thankfully my ex is an atheist too. Um, but so we didn't have to deal with that. But if you like you break up and one of you is a religious and is dragging your kid to church, do you do something to stop that indoctrination? Do you just talk to them about it? Maybe like you know what? Some people believe that. There's no reason you have to. If you like it and it works for you, okay. But yeah, yeah, you do. That's awesome. Ken BD, I find that so strange to me, and this is just silly sexism on my part that I feel like women are more religious. It's not really true. The older I get, the more people I meet who are like women are a little bit more, logical than their exes, and their exes are completely sunk in. I know a dude who's divorced. He goes to Catholic mass every fucking day. You imagine that? Business owner, imagine finding time to fucking go to mass every day. That's fucked up. Being able to be forgiven for any crime and still go to the afterlife blows my mind. How so? Canadian snowy mittens, I love you. It sounds like you believe the afterlife is real. The idea of an afterlife is simply um, not feasible, right? Oblivion is all we're going to have after we die. Just like before you were born, you didn't exist. There's no afterlife. Your physical brain, which holds the keys to your physical knowledge in a physical organ, how is that transferred to an unseen spiritual being that we don't even know exists? It's dumb. I'm sorry. To think that there's an afterlife is silliness. Yeah, yeah. Christians wanting to go to the afterlife is selfish. Yeah, you think they're like they're probably defending data centers of all things because they don't care, right? They don't care about the planet. They don't because it's just a temporary. It's just a holding cell where you can do without your carnal desires. At least say you're doing without them before you go to the basement and do your thing. Um, but yeah. Anyway, I go to church when my kid is with. You do go to church. Can you come up? I hope so. Or you go to church with them, is what you mean by that. Who doesn't want to hang out with serial killers in heaven? Yeah. Hey, man. Heaven for weather, hell for company. Our guy, Mark Twain. Atheist. Somebody tried to, yeah, the farmer's market yesterday got into a discussion with my kid because there was a guy who had a booth up and he had like a real, like, AI generated eagle, an American flag, and a big cross in the middle of it. It just seemed Trumpy. There was nothing on it about Trump, but it seemed like one of those Christian demographics who are just going to be Trumpy because they're an evangelical and they've been lied to the point where they think this is a Christian nation. Well, there's a painting of George Washington kneeling and praying in the White House, and they take that as evidence that Washington believed in God and prayed to him for guidance, which maybe he did, but he wasn't a Christian. He was a deist, right? He believed in a creator, like a lot of those guys did, but admitted knowing that the creator didn't have anything to do with us anymore. He left us alone, doesn't interact with us. And so the right way to proceed in that instance is as if he doesn't exist because there's no upside to you spending any time trying to figure out what they want or what they need or if there's anything that you have to do in relation to something that clearly just doesn't have anything to do with us anymore. Right. And I maintain that if all those deists, those post enlightenment deists who got a better education than anybody coming out of college today did, by the way, at Harvard in the 1600s. Um, they would all be atheists today if they had Darwin's knowledge and knowledge of the cosmos that we have today. They would have all been, okay, deism, more philosophically defensible, but still, there's no evidence for it. Yeah, so you go. I like that actually because you can be there and see what's going on and hear them influence. All right, and it's a little family time for everybody. I'm about that. Anyway, they requested volunteers, and I showed up. They played loud worship music. I said, "Nah." He put headphones on. But what'd you put on? Put back on some of that hip hop. Yes, Jabus, you're right. It's easier to embrace a convenient lie than an inconvenient and uncomfortable truth. That's always the way it's been. Uh, Do you think the people who wrote the Bible believe it, or do you think that they knew they were making things up? I think the people who wrote the New Testament, Lucy, I think those people knew that they were selling a mythology in order to attract people to a new religion, like a business. I do. I don't. I think that the writers of the gospel knew. That's why that's why two of them are copies of the other one. They're like, let's put this out with a different name, with slightly different language, that wasn't good enough for modern forensic archaeologists to realize they were just copied from each other, paraphrased. Matthew and Luke are paraphrasals and copies of Mark, which was the first one, written 60 years after the event. So there's nobody. The writers weren't alive when the event supposedly took place. I don't. Who knows what their motive was? Maybe it was money. Maybe it was control. What? Maybe it was. I don't. I think the Old Testament is mostly scrolls from um, history, the history of the Hebrew nation, as they went through their travails. A lot of it has been debunked as myth. A lot of it is history, as well as it could have been written. There's certainly things in the Bible that aren't related to spirituality at all. There's simply rules for living and histories of what went on. Samuel, Kings, Judges, all those are actual histories. We don't really have a better way to investigate those histories except digging up artifacts. So they're fascinating documents. But I think mostly, in the creation story, and I think probably there were people then who knew it was a meta. The storytellers in that day knew it was a metaphor. They knew it was all allegory, right? They're just trying to make sense of their world and how we got here and give people some grounding. So in that way, I guess I think probably some of those early writers did know that it wasn't specifically true, that it wasn't actual facts. But the Old Testament is huge and wide ranging, and prophets were a lot of them were probably just schizophrenic dudes. People left alone. If you were touched in the hate in the day, people thought you had a direct line to God. They didn't fuck with you. Just leave that dude alone because there's some shit going on there you don't want to get yourself involved in. But yeah, thank you for the question. I do think there's a lot of the writers of the New Testament and I think Paul probably had a stroke on the road to Damascus. He saw a blinding light and heard a voice. He had a stroke, mini stroke maybe, and survived it. Obviously survived it. Christians use shame and insults to convince you. Yeah, that's why I use shame and insult to shame and insult them back, fuckers. Just go through my channel. And it's like, yeah, no, is it helpful? I don't know. It's my nature. Sadly, it's my nature. Can't really change the way I do that. I try to mellow it out. I do. Um, but uh, yeah, making fun of the patently stupid is easy. It's too easy for someone like me, and I like I'm lazy. I like easy things. All Abrahamic religions are horribly violent and controlling. Well, the two are. Judaism, it's a little bit weird if they're in a conservative sect, but they mostly let that shit go, and they make up no population anymore. They're one of the tiniest religions. It's in our face, so we think it's one of the big three. It's not. There's like no Jews in the world compared to other religions. They did spawn. Thank you, Jews, though, for giving us Christianity and Islam, the really, really violent ones. Uh, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Judaism in the old is incredibly violent in terms of the stories about what God did. Give me a break. That's why when people are like, God is good all the time, like, have you read the Bible? It's pretty clearly two different gods that are being spoken of, because the New Testament God of love and forgiveness is not the same dude who drowned the world and smote his enemies and blew up down the walls and asked people to off their kids, all this shit. But Judaism long ago, mainstream Judaism especially, has let go of all that shit. They don't really believe it. You know, they have other problems, but being overly violent these days is not one of them. As far as there's no hell concept in Judaism. It's a Western edition. Thanks, Dante. Uh, Thank you, Franny SideQuest. Love you. Take it easy. People don't understand that during biblical times, the Middle East wasn't a desert. Middle East wasn't a desert like it was, not like it is now. What was it? It wasn't that long ago. I'll have to take a deep dive into it like that. Was it forested? No. Was there more water than today? Likely, because we're fucking up the world. Pretty sure 2,000 years ago, most of that region was desert. It was built around like the Fertile Crescent, right? That's where there was water, and that's where Israel and the corner of Egypt and Lebanon, they have resources to grow. But the idea that Jesus was a carpenter is easily debunked by the fact that there weren't a lot of trees around. He was a furniture maker, maybe making shit out of stone. But the Noah story comes from an earlier myth from a different part of the world. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the Noah story is not based on observations of the writers of Noah. That is a redemption story and a punishment and renewal story that echoed through the eons before that. I'm not really arguing with you, Snarky, because I don't have the knowledge. I do have some skepticism there that the Middle East was a lot wetter, and they still have wet seasons and dry seasons. Um, yeah, that's exactly right. The Sumerian tablets, right? So there's a wider world there, not a lot wider, but a lot wider than the Palestinian desert and the North African desert. But that's interesting. I'd like to know exactly how wetter it was. What's up, Matt? My guy. Save awesome Lord. Yes. How you been, man? Eric, thanks for the likes. Appreciate you guys. I'm not going to stay on for much longer. Got a lot of work to do around the old place. So I'm going to keep it to an hour today, probably. So hit me up if you got something else to say. Um, we'll talk about it for a minute. You guys like politics? Make sure you get out and vote this year, man. It's brutal. I just and I'm not in love with the damn Democrats, but God Almighty, these fucking turds on the right are just talk about like the hypocrites, right? And the people who cleave to Christian nationalism are the most violent, hateful, treat strangers like shit, treat homosexuals like shit, treat women like shit. Where's the connect? Where's the connect? Why don't you read that fucking Bible while you're holding it next to your pew pew? Guns, God, and Trump. The people who spout Christianity in America are the least Christian motherfuckers you could possibly find on the planet. Where's the Christian left? We need the Christian left to step up and fucking say no. And on a local level, you can see it because they're all timid, right? But if you get when they're like, I'm Christian, but I'm against separation churches. Okay, louder so they can hear you in the back, please. The Christian right is such a disgusting mob of idiots. It makes me embarrassed. It really does. Yes, I'm with you, Mayday. And people are like, it doesn't work. It just empowers. I don't know. What else are you supposed to do? That's why we live in America. We can protest an unjust government. And right now we have the most unjust, corrupt government, getting away with Epstein, getting away with fucking every graft and corruption and payback and kickback that this motherfucker can possibly do. But meanwhile, people can't pay for fucking eggs and shit. It's like, what? What the fuck is going on? We have a beautiful mix of people out there each week. Yeah, we do. I get the puzzle piece here and stay going here, because we're a couple of minutes from an hour, or just about an hour. Because Trump is money laundering our national treasury. You think he could fix a deficit then? If a deficit, you guys like that? Deficit hit record high, while Trump's approval ratings record low. Can you read my comment from above? Snowy mittens. It's hard for me to keep up when I'm blabbing, Snowy, so I'm not ignoring you for sure. I'm scrolling back, scrolling back. Jabez Justin, it's all about controlling people. That's the last comment I see from you. If that's not it, post it again. Oh, church and state. Oh, why is there an official chaplain for the House of Representatives? Well, yes, they violate the. Thank you, thank you. You're Canadian. Sorry, that you have to deal with us as a neighbor. It's a fucked up situation right now. Snowy mittens, but yeah, there's a million violations of the separation of church and state. Already, there's a prayer breakfast every fucking month. What? They're trying as Christian idiots are trying as hard as they can to break down that wall. There should not be an official chaplain for the House or for the Congress. They could have an official counselor. That would be great. But no, they've been trying ever since, like I said, ever since Billy Graham and we're not godless communists scare of the 50s. America has become more and more religious at the government level. It's wrong. It's one of the things that we fight. It's ridiculous to me. The Atheist Convention was held in Phoenix a few years ago, and they were having a prayer breakfast. The governor was there having a prayer breakfast in the hotel while the atheist. It's it's just silly. And Nazi Barbie, who's now not working anymore, she quit. She knows she saw the writing on the wall, didn't she? This Levitt woman, with the too much lip gloss, the Bonnie Bell all over her lips. You ever notice that? It's like, dude, learn how to put on lipstick. She's got like a little girl. She's got like lip gloss going over the edge of her lips. I was crazy. But yeah, praying in the background before she comes out for prayer. Did you hear us? Did you hear us invoke the name of our Lord and Savior? Did you hear our amen? Yes, we were praying to Jesus. Praying to Jesus. And they're real proud of it. They think there really is a concerted effort underway by the whole Project 2025 asshole, this vote idiot, to make this a Christian nation. And they've miseducated people to the point where people believe that. Like I said, this guy told me about. I started trying to finish the story. He's talking about how there's a picture of George. I went from Virginia, and there's a picture of George Washington. He was a deist. He didn't pray to Jesus. He didn't pray to a cross, and that wasn't a photograph. It's some artist later wanting to put a spin on this godly man who didn't give a shit about that. Washington gave a shit about that. He gave a shit about growing hemp and having a farm in Virginia and doing his thing. And uh, yeah, that's what I call her. That's what I call her. If you look at like Google old Hitler Youth magazines, right? She looks like the pretty little blonde girl with the blue dress who's just happy to be Hitler Youth. We learned about it in social studies in eighth grade. I want to say, this is a thing, um, and that's the first thing she reminded me of was that. Yeah, yeah. Same with the Federalist Society and Opus Dei, all involved. Yes, all of that crap. All that crap. Opus Dei, break. God's work. I did federal contract writing in the Navy, and when I got out, it's money. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, no, it's this is the local artist did these shirts, and he's got a lot of shirts with an alien and Sasquatch just chilling because they're both outsiders. But it's more of a follow your own vision kind of thing. And I like the art. I like his style a lot. He was just a iron on, but I got it at the farmer's market because he was there once. Um, and I can't remember his name, but you can find his shit online. Um, I don't know. It's lost to me. The old brain doesn't work like it used to. Of course, sin is not real. Sin is made up. We made up sin. Sin is not real, Ryan. Please. Thank you for somebody for finally reading the fucking tag on that thing. No, people made up sin. as a way to quantify our guilt. You do something shitty to somebody, you feel guilty. It's not a sin because there's not God. There's no God going, hey, you did that. Hey, mark that down in your book. No matter how many billions of people the planet ends up with, God's still got a book with everybody's sin in it, right? It's moronic, buddy. I love you. Thank you for being here. Please, please. It's a human created concept meant to control through fear and guilt. If you do somebody wrong, say you're sorry. Try to do better next time. Try to improve. Satanism has a better answer. Try to be the best person you can be. Why, if God made us sinful and needs to sacrifice, it's a human sacrifice story, right? God has given us the ultimate human sacrifice. He's only God. He could have as many kids as he wanted, but he only had one, and it was a son. It wasn't a woman, because that wouldn't be a worthy sacrifice. This is an ancient world idea. The firstborn son was as important to every family as anything possibly could be. The number one thing that you could do in your life was have a firstborn son, because you were going to die early and you wanted a firstborn son to have the respect of the government and the control, and to be someone who could take over the family, because boys are stronger. And when working farm and all this, it's like that's and fighting wars and stuff and beating people up. That's you kind of needed a boy in the mind of the ancient world. So losing your firstborn son was a tragedy beyond tragedies. That was the most brutal thing that could happen to anybody. And so the metaphor of God losing his firstborn son, or willingly giving up his firstborn son, is simply that. This is how much God loves you. He's willing to kill his firstborn son. And that would horrify anybody in the ancient world. Losing your firstborn son. How many times is it in the fucking Bible? Pharaoh, firstborn son killed. Go around and kill all the firstborn sons in families at Passover, right? It's repeated over and over, because that is the number one threat to anybody's future and legacy. It's obvious to anybody who studies and understands these things. That's a metaphor for how much God loved you. He's willing to sacrifice his only son, which obviously is his firstborn son. But the idea that God could only have one son is stupid. He could send around the Holy Spirit to shag as many virgins as he wants, to adulterate with people's husbands and wives or betrothed, right? As many times as he wants. But somehow this guy only had one, and he gave it up for you. It's a beautiful story. It's evocative to people in the ancient world. Wow, he really does love us. He killed his firstborn son. Why would he need to? If he wanted people who weren't shitty, why didn't he just make us not shitty? Because he's not real. He's not. All that crap goes away. All the justifications, the rationalizations. Once you just realize that none of it's real, it all goes away. And if you sin, if you do something that hurts somebody else, just say you're sorry and try to do better, and try to make it. If what you did really really hurt them, then you're going to go to jail for it, right? It's against the law. But if you have guilty feelings about it, you're not going to fix those feelings by letting somebody else 2,000 years ago die for what you did. It doesn't stand up to the least amount of scrutiny, not even a little bit. Yeah, Christian conservatives electing a man who has violated every deadly sin and the entire. Thank you, Pesky, for whatever that was. Love it. The hand heart. Love it. Thank you, Pesky. Appreciate you. Nice black cat there. Love that. So yeah. Well, that's people. Christians don't even know that Jesus was a Jew. I've had a guy say Jesus wanted you to be Christian. Jesus did not know what a Christian was, if he existed. Munib Jut, Munib Jut. Of course, my sin list is probably mostly gluttony. See, how's that a sin? Overeating a sin? See, some of the things that they think is sins is like just sex out of wedlock. How is that a sin? They just don't want you to do it, because they want to control the way society grows and takes care of itself. They don't want a bunch of bastards running around in the ancient world. They don't want a bunch of unwanted. They want you to fucking pick a family, be faithful, have a baby. So all of this is built around the idea that society needs to be controlled by the people who are natural leaders, and the small folk who are just too dumb to keep their dick in their pants. It's but that's what drove me away right away. I'm like, how is this? I get how murder and theft are sins if there was going to be such a thing, but how is simply pleasuring yourself a sin? You have to be completely gullible to believe that victimless crimes are sins. So yes, my friend, sins are completely made up. Mati, like believing Jesus was a white man. Is it hard to say white? Can you not say white? You have to misspell it. Is that where we're at on TikTok? I hate this fucking platform. Honest to God, it blows my mind that I got so big on this one. I can't let it go because this is the one that's stuck to the wall. But it's just so bad, so bad. White. I'm all right. I'm probably not. I can't believe I haven't even gotten a warning because I said words like homosexual. Why? Why do you have to misspell it? Why white? I can't talk about a white T-shirt or a white piece of paper or a white Kleenex. I mean, white. Is it because you say white people? Yes, you don't need religion to be kind or know right from wrong. That's it. People like atheists say, where do you get your You get your morals from the fact that we have a mind and we can empathize with the pain of others, and we realize that causing others pain only drags us all down. It didn't used to be like that. Our morality has changed, right? The powerful used to just shit on the weak, and in general, that happens much less these days. We treat everybody better. These days are better times for everybody in comparison to ancient times. That's not to say that they're good yet, but we treat animals better, we treat women better, we treat gay people better, we treat minorities better in general. Until see, this is why I'm so upset that we're going backwards, because we're living in a time where the subjective morality of our society is getting dragged backwards, while the people who are doing the dragging preach Christianity, right? But meanwhile, they're not taking care of the downtrodden. They're trying to roll back women's rights. They're trying to be shitty to LGBTQ folk again. They're trying to fucking crap on trans people. They're trying to crap on Mexicans and anybody who's not from here. It's if it's not completely obvious to you, then you have a deficiency, my friend. I'm a straight white man too. Yes, thank you, Mayday. Embrace your white straight. I'm fabulously straight. Always have been. Amanda, what's going on, Amanda? Edward Orth, miss you, buddy. I know you're scrolling by and you hate me, but you don't need to. As an atheist, I love inflicting pain and terror onto others. I have no remorse for anything. Okay, buddy. See, now sooner or later that'll land you in the clinker. Um, but there's people out there like that. I feel like you're probably being sarcastic, but there are people like that out there. All the Stalins and that. I didn't realize is the French Revolution tried to de-Christianize France. They made up a new calendar to try to drag all that stuff away from Christianity. I did not know that. I did not know that. Too bad that didn't work. That backfired. Too many Catholics in France at the time were like, you know what? It's a step too far for us, my friend. We need our Christianity. Do not tell people it is wrong. I feel more. I feel like these days maybe that would go better in France. Fabulous. Yeah, it was a question about the French Revolutionary calendar on our trivia thing that we do, and I didn't even know that existed. But they tried to, and they actually used it for a little while. They broke down the calendar into 10 months, named them different months, and um, they tried to decimalize the whole thing. Right, it was 10. A week was 10 days. Um, so on and so forth. It was really interesting because I got the trivia question completely wrong, and I had no idea that the establishment after the French Revolution tried to de-Christianize France. Didn't work. And it worked on its own later because Christianity's dying in places like that anyway, because it's profoundly silly on its basic level. But do that. I like history too, Snowy Mittens. And thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you. We love our Canadian friends. Canadian British, it looks like. You got the British Canadian. What is that, a third flag? What is that? Can't. If you pull up your thing, it doesn't show them. I can't tell what that little third icon is. Oh, hi, Chuck. Oh, it's an EU flag. All right. I like to go back to actual natural months, actual moons. Yeah, it is. But you need to make up a way to make up for the solar year that doesn't, it doesn't jibe with right. It would change. I think they, for regularity's sake in record keeping and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, but yeah, it's more natural. Yeah, it's the moon cycles. But the actual moon cycles don't exactly match the solar year, I think, is the problem. Which is why it's invented the way it did to kind of get around that extra quarter day that we have. So we have a leap year or leap day and leap year and so forth. Lobo domesticado. Oh, it's the domestic wolf. Es un lobo domesticado. All right. Yeah, I'm going to blast off. I got crap to do. My eyes are getting tired. Love you guys. I will see you on the flip flop. Going to try to get some vids out this week. Got a lot going on this fall. Going to be busy for me. So, um, yeah. Thank you, Snowy. Peace out, May Day. Love you guys for being here. Bye now. Give you one more loose. The word sin just makes you think of adult stores. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. All right, one more. I'll give you one more. The word sin, it just makes me think of adult stores. Yeah. No, you got to vote. You really do. You got to stay voting. It doesn't do any good to not. I have the same worries sometimes, Luce, that but I'm actively involved in fighting the autocracy, and the Dems are just such pieces of shit that I hate to even be identified with them either. But unfortunately, there's not much of a way around that right now. But that's where we got. That's where we're at. Appreciate you, my babe. We will see you on the flip flop.